The rain fell hard on the metal roof of the broken shelter. Wind howled through the cracks, and cold air filled the room inside. An alien woman sat on the floor, holding her baby close. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes tired and red from crying. But her arms never stopped rocking the small bundle in her lap. The baby cried, loud and scared. Tiny fists waved in the air. Legs kicking against the worn blanket, his soft whimpers turned into sharp sobs. She tried everything, whispering, humming, gently swaying, but the child wouldn't stop crying. She looked up at the ceiling, water dripping down in the corner. Her voice cracked. "It's okay, little one. Mama's here," but even she didn't believe her own words. This planet had no safety, no warmth, and no future. Outside, nothing but rain, mud, and silence. But just beyond the edge of the broken shelter, hidden in the shadows, under a collapsed beam, someone watched them silently. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. Covered in a dark cloak, soaked with rain, his eyes, human eyes, locked on the baby, and a deep pain showed on his face. It was the baby's father, but he didn't step forward, didn't call her name, didn't reach out. He stayed hidden, like a ghost. The woman's ears twitched slightly. Her kind could sense when someone was near. She stopped rocking for a second and looked at the wall. Her whisper was barely heard over the storm. "I know you're there." The man's breath caught. She hadn't turned toward him, but she knew. She always did. Still, he said nothing. Just clenched his fists tighter under the wet cloak. His boots sank deeper into the mud, but he refused to leave. The baby cried louder. The mother hugged him tighter. Tears slid down her cheek as she whispered, "He's scared of everything now." Even the wind. The man's jaw trembled. He had promised to protect them. But he hadn't even been there when the soldiers came. The child was born in hiding, half human, half alien, a mix forbidden by both sides. Their love had cost them everything, and now all he could do was watch the woman look down at her child again. She kissed his forehead gently. "You still remember him, don't you?" She whispered to the baby. "You cry louder when you know he's near." The baby hiccuped, and for a second, he stopped crying. His small head turned slightly, facing toward the shadows. His eyes were still shut, but his face calmed, almost like he felt something familiar. The man took one step closer, but stopped. His heart screamed to run forward, to hold his son, to hold her, but his mind whispered, "You'll only bring danger." He wasn't safe now for them. The hunters were still looking for the child. And if they knew the father was nearby, they would come faster. That's why he stayed in the dark. Always watching, always listening. The mother leaned back against the wall. The storm outside grew louder. Her eyes closed and her lips moved silently. She was praying not to a god, but to him, to the man in the shadows, to the father of her child. "Please," she whispered, "if you're there, don't leave again." Her voice cracked. The baby made a soft sound and grabbed a lock of her hair. She kissed his tiny hand. Then she spoke louder. "I can't protect him alone forever." The wind slammed against the wall. The fire in the corner flickered out. The room went dark, cold and quiet except for the soft breaths of mother and child, and in the shadows. The man stayed still, his heart breaking, his decision burning in his chest. He couldn't show himself, not yet. But something told him. Soon he would have no choice, because someone else had also found the trail. And they were not here to help. Asterisk, before the storm, before the crying baby, there was a battlefield soaked in blood and smoke. And in the middle of it a human medic knelt beside a fallen enemy, an alien soldier with blue skin and a bleeding wound across her side. Everyone else had passed her by, but he didn't. "Don't move," he said softly. Placing his trembling hand on her arm, she flinched, expecting pain or punishment. But his hand was warm, steady. He was supposed to follow protocol, treat only humans, but something in her eyes stopped him. Something. Not dangerous, but afraid. "You're helping me?" she asked in a broken voice. No one else would. The human nodded once. They won't know. That moment changed everything. He brought her into the med station secretly at night. He stitched her wound, gave her clean water, even food. She should have left the next day, but she didn't. She came back the next night and the next. Sometimes injured, sometimes just tired, sometimes just to see him. Her name was Zira, his was Callan. They never planned it, never said the words. But little by little, between silent stares and hidden smiles, their bond grew deeper. He learned that her people were raised to fear humans, to believe. They had no mercy, but Callan's hands were proof of something else. Something gentler. Zero brought him small things, salient fruit, a shiny stone, a feather from her world. He showed her how to make fire the human way. They laughed quietly, always. Looking over their shoulders, their moments were short, stolen, but to them, they were everything. One day, Zira came to him, trembling, her eyes wide, her voice shaking. "I'm with child," she whispered. Callan froze. His mouth opened, but no words came. "Mine?" he asked, voice cracking. She nodded. He stepped back, breath quick, heart racing. This was not allowed, not in any law, not on any world. But when he looked at her and saw her fear, he didn't run. He pulled her into his arms instead. "We'll protect him," he said, "no matter what." And so the hiding began. Callan faked a mission report. Said he was transferred to another sector. Zero left her unit and vanished. Together, they found a cold, forgotten planet, quiet, isolated, surrounded by snow. They built a shelter with scraps, lived off the land. Every day was a fight for survival. They faced it together, and when the baby was born, Callan cried. He had his mother's skin, blue and soft. But his eyes, those were Callan's. Sharp, focused, full of something ancient. But joy didn't last. It wasn't long before Zira noticed. The child shaking at night. His body reacted strangely to cold, but also to heat, and sometimes the machines around him flickered without touch. He was no ordinary baby. "We made something new," Callan whispered one night, holding his son, but the world might never accept him. Zira's arms wrapped around them both. "I don't care," she whispered. "They can't have him." Then came the message. An encrypted code sent to Callan's old frequency. One sentence, they found the DNA trace. Panic set in. The very people Callan once served were now hunting his son. Not to protect him, but to study him, use him, maybe even destroy him. That night, Callan made the hardest choice of his life. He kissed Zira and his son goodbye and walked into the snow. "I'll lead them away," he told her. "I'll keep them watching me so they never look too closely at you." Zira begged him not to go, but he left, and from that day on, he became a shadow, watching from a distance, protecting from afar, unable to hold his son. But always there, and now, back in the present, the baby cries in Zira's arms, his little chest rising and falling fast. Zira rocks him under the broken roof. She senses something dark is coming. Suddenly, a flash of light cuts through the sky. A ship, sleek and black, no sound, no warning. It disappears into the trees beyond. Zira's heart pounds. "They found us," she whispers, and far beyond the trees, hidden under mud and ice, Callan hears the sound too. His eyes narrow. His fingers tighten around the old weapon in his coat. He left once, but he won't leave again. This time, he'll fight. Zira's breath turned white in the air. The cold had grown sharper. Biting her skin with every gust, she wrapped her cloak tighter around the baby, but his little fingers were already losing color. She looked up, scanning the sky. The black ship had vanished behind the clouds. But she knew it didn't leave. It landed. The forest was silent, too silent. No birds, no wind, no movement. Only her racing heart and the soft, weak cries of her child. She had to move. Staying in the broken shelter was no longer safe. She adjusted the sling around her shoulder and tucked the baby close to her chest. Then she stepped out into the snow, one careful step at a time, boots sinking deep. Each step felt heavier than the last, not from fear, but from memory. This was the same path Callan had taken when he left. Same trees, same frost-covered rocks. But back then, she had watched him go. Now, she was walking it alone, or so she thought, from high in the trees. Two green eyes followed her every move. Callan crouched among the branches, cloak covered in snow, rifle strapped to his back. He didn't blink. Didn't breathe too loudly. He had been tracking the black ship before it even reached orbit. Now it was on the ground, and its scanners were hunting one thing only: his son. Callan had spent years hiding in the edges of her world. Never close enough to touch, but never far enough to forget. Now he couldn't afford silence. Not anymore. Zira moved toward the old trail near the ravine. She was heading for the cave's good, he thought. That place still had supplies, heat panels, even a backup signal jammer. But it wouldn't be enough, not this time. He spotted the first drone just as it floated silently above the treetops. Small, black, almost invisible against the sky. But he knew the design: an old human scout drone, reprogrammed by the Purity Council. It would detect any DNA irregularity within 200 meters, and the baby was a walking target. Callan jumped down without sound, landed on his knees, rolled, then slid behind a snow-covered tree. He aimed his pulse rifle upward, held his breath. One shot, a soft pop, no flash. The drone sparked once and fell, disappearing into the snow. Zero flinched at the sound and spun around. "Who's there?" she called, voice low but sharp. Silence. Then a shadow moved behind the tree. She froze, one hand on her baby, the other gripping a small blade. The shadow stepped forward, and she saw him. Callan, face older now, beard rough, eyes colder, but it was still him. Still the man who once whispered love into her skin. Still the man who left to protect them. "You shouldn't be here," she said through clenched teeth. "I know," he answered, "but I had to come back." She looked at him, then at the sky. The ship. "It landed in the South Ravine," he said. "At least 3 hunters, maybe more." Her arms tightened around the baby. "He's not well," she said. "He's burning up." Callan stepped closer. His eyes dropped to the child, the tiny face, the soft hum in his chest, the way the baby stopped crying the moment he looked at him. "I can help him," Callan said. Reaching into his belt, he pulled out a small vial filled with orange serum. "Thermal stabilizer, Gen 4, Zira." Looked at it with suspicion. "Is it safe?" Callan hesitated. "For humans, yes. For him, I don't know, but it's better than freezing." Zero nodded slowly and allowed him to inject it into the baby's arm. The child cried once, then grew still. Warmth spread across his skin, and for the first time in hours, he let out a tiny sigh and closed his eyes. "He remembers you," Zero whispered. "Even now." Callan looked away, his jaw tight. "I never forgot him," he said. "I watched every day. From the hills, from the trees. Every time he cried, I was there." Zara's voice broke. "Then why didn't you come back sooner?" Before Callan could answer, a high-pitched sound cut through the air. Ping, ping, ping. Scanner beams closing in. "They're here," Callan said. Pulling her behind a thick tree trunk, he handed her a stun blade. "If they find us, run north. Take the second path. I'll cover you." Zero shook her head. "No. Not again." Callan looked at her with fierce eyes. This time, I'm not leaving, Zira. He turned to face the noise, rifle ready, breath steady. This time, I protect out loud. Snow exploded under Zira's boots as she ran. The baby was pressed tight to her chest. His skin warm from the serum, but his breathing shallow behind her. The trees echoed with sharp sounds, metal boots crunching, scanners pulsing, and somewhere farther back, the sound of gunfire. Callan, he stayed behind to fight them, just like he said. But Zero couldn't look back. One glance might break her. One step too slow could cost her everything. The baby stirred in her arms, let out a tiny cough. She whispered, "Please hold on, little one." She reached the narrow ice path that ran beside the ravine. One wrong step here meant falling hundreds of feet below, but there was no other way. She'd take her chances with nature over the Purity Council hunter's back. In the forest, Callan moved like a shadow. He ducked behind fallen trees, weaving between trunks. He counted 3 hunters in full combat gear, each one taller than him. Faster too, but they had one weakness. They didn't understand why they were chasing this child. To them, the mission was clear. Recover the hybrid infant, dead or alive. No questions, no doubts. Callan was different. He didn't follow blind orders anymore. He fired once, hitting a scanner drone midair. It exploded with a crack, alerting the others. Good. He wanted their attention. As the first hunter turned, Callan rolled behind cover and shouted, "You don't even know what he is, do you?" The hunter paused, visor flashing red. "He's an illegal birth, a threat to balance." Callan laughed coldly. "No, he's the future, and you're too scared to see it." The hunter fired. The blast missed by inches, scorching the bark of a tree. Callan threw a stun charge and ran deeper into the woods. They followed, just as planned. He was leading them away. Meanwhile, Zero reached the edge of the ravine. A hidden path cut along the frozen cliffside. Narrow and steep, she stepped onto it carefully, pressing her back to the rock. Snow slipped beneath her feet, but she held firm. Each step was a prayer. Each breath fogged her view. Suddenly, a flash of metal ahead, another drone hovering at the edge, its lens glowing blue. She pulled the blade Callan gave her. The baby whimpered, sensing the danger. The drone scanned the child once, then turned red, preparing to alert the hunters. Zero didn't wait. She lunged forward, slashing the drone with the blade. Sparks flew as it fell over the edge, but her foot slipped, and she screamed. One leg dangled over the drop, snow falling below her like white dust. She grabbed the ledge with one hand, clutching the baby with the other. The rocks tore at her fingers. Her cloak ripped, but she pulled herself up. Groaning through clenched teeth, she reached solid ground. Collapsed and gasped for air. The baby's eyes opened slowly. Glowing faintly in the cold light, Zero blinked. Stunned, his irises had changed, shifting between blue and gold, and around them. The ice cracked, not from weight, but from vibration. Was he doing this? In the woods behind her, a new sound roared. Not gunfire, not machines. Footsteps, large and heavy. One of the hunters had broken off from the group. It was coming this way. Zero rose to her feet, legs shaking. She darted along the path, pushing through branches and frozen vines. The baby began to hum, a soft sound that made her skin tingle then. The vines behind her moved, twisting upward like they were alive, wrapping across the narrow path. Just as the hunter stepped out of the trees, the vines slammed shut behind her. She turned, eyes wide. The baby's hum grew louder. Zira's breath caught in her throat. "He's changing," she whispered. "He's waking up." She didn't know what it meant, didn't know how long it would last, but for the first time, she felt like they had a chance. In the distance, Callan still fought. 3 against 1, he was losing ground, but every moment he bought. Gave them more time. He knew he wouldn't survive this fight, but if his son reached the caves, if Zero made it, then it would all be worth it. He fired one last shot and ducked behind a tree, whispering under his breath, "Run, Zira, run." Zira stumbled through the trees, her breath ragged, snow clung to her legs. And her boots were soaked, but she didn't stop. Not when her baby's heartbeat buzzed against her chest like a tiny drum. Not when her legs begged her to fall, because she had seen it rising from the snow like a buried memory. The old human outpost, steel walls half buried in ice, rust on the doors, cracked solar panels, and a fading red symbol still barely visible on the gate. UEC, Base 17. Callan told her about it once, a forgotten station, he said. Shut down after the war, but it still has working systems. Hidden ones. She pressed her palm to the side panel. Cold metal met frozen skin. Nothing happened. The door remained. Shut. She slammed her fist. Open, she whispered. Please, open. No lights, no sound, just silence. The baby stirred again, eyes flickering gold blue. Suddenly, a soft chime, the wall lit up, scanning his face from her arms. Then, click, the door opened slowly with a low hiss. Inside, warm air hit her face. Dust floated in golden beams from broken lights. The control room flickered weakly, and screens lit up faint but alive. Zira stepped inside, breathing heavily. The door slid shut behind her. Locking with a hiss, she placed the baby on a medical bench. His breathing steadied color, returning to his cheeks. She dropped to her knees beside him and smiled through tears. "We made it," she whispered. "We're safe." But they weren't. A soft beep echoed from the control panel. Words appeared. On the cracked screen, unauthorized life form detected, running genetic scan. Zira's smile faded. She stood slowly, heart racing. No, he's not a threat. She whispered, stepping between the scanner and her child. The screen blinked. Then changed. Genetic code identified. Hybrid Alpha, access level, Genesis unlocking protocol. Zero froze. Genesis. Suddenly, panels on the walls shifted. A new door opened on the far side of the room. Cold blue lights lined the hallway beyond it. And the voice of the AI spoke for the first time in years. "Welcome, hybrid life form," it said in a soft female tone. System prepared for genetic preservation. Zero backed away, pulling the baby close again. "What does that mean?" "What are you trying to do?" she asked aloud, but the AI only repeated, "Protection initiated." Emergency protocols online. She didn't trust it, not yet. But she knew this place could give them shelter, maybe even answers. She stepped into the hallway. Lights flicked on one by one as she walked. The walls showed images, ancient war photos, fallen soldiers, and finally, a child, not hers, but like hers, blue skin, human eyes. She reached the end of the corridor where another screen waited. It flashed to life the moment the baby's eyes opened. Then the voice changed. No longer the AI, but a recording. "If you're hearing this," a human commander said on screen, "you found what we hid from the world. The Genesis child is not a weapon. He's the bridge between species, the start of something better. Protect him. Let him grow." Zira's hand shook as she touched the screen. "He knew," she whispered. Someone knew this could happen. But just then, boom. A distant sound shook the walls. Her heart dropped. They were here. The hunters had found the outpost from the cameras. She saw movement, 3 heat signals approaching from the north gate. And another Callan, injured, limping, but alive. He was running too toward the same place. Zira grabbed the baby, whispering, "We're not alone anymore. He's coming back to us." The outpost sealed the outer gates automatically, but it wouldn't hold for long. The hunters had cutting gear, pulse launchers, and they weren't leaving without the child. Zero ran back to the control room. Her hands flew across buttons, guided by instinct and fear. She activated the defense field. But it flickered unstable, old, not enough to stop them all. The baby stirred again, glowing brighter now. Machines nearby reacted to him. Panels lit up, wires pulsed. He reached out a hand, and the lights glowed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Zero watched in awe. He's not afraid anymore, she said softly. He's awakening, outside. Callan fired one last shot at a hunter before reaching the gate. His voice echoed into the "Come, Zero, I'm here. Rope the door." She did. And this time, she wasn't alone. This time, the outpost was awake too. Callan dropped to his knees the moment the outpost doors sealed behind him. Snow covered his coat and blood soaked his side, but his eyes searched for one thing only. Zira, he gasped. She was there standing just across the room, their baby in her arms, wide awake, glowing softly in the dark. The child looked at him, eyes no longer just blue or gold, but shifting, alive, pulsing like stars. And then, something strange happened. The lights in the outpost dimmed. A humming sound filled the air, low and soft. Machines around them began turning on by themselves. Medical scanners, defense panels, energy cores all reacting to him. Zero stepped forward, her voice shaky. "He did this, Callan," she whispered. "He doesn't just live with both of us inside him. He connects two things." Callan tried to stand, leaning on a console for support. He looked at his son in disbelief. The child blinked. And the wall screen lit up again, this time showing an ancient message. A scientist in a worn uniform spoke. "This genetic combination, human and Zalari, was once considered impossible, but if successful, it could allow for neural binding, cross-species adaptation, even machine empathy." Zero gasped. "Machine empathy. Is that what he's doing?" The AI voice returned. "Genesis lifeform is no longer passive," it said. "He is awakening systems responding to neural frequency." Callan stepped closer. Ignoring the pain in his ribs, his son reached a hand. Toward him, Callan hesitated, then took the tiny hand in his own. A sudden flash, and Callan felt something. Not just the warmth of his son's skin, but a soft wave inside his mind. A presence, calm and curious. A whisper that wasn't words, but understanding. Callan fell back, eyes wide. He touched my thoughts," he said. "Not just touched them, he read me." Zira nodded, tears in her eyes. "He showed me memories earlier when we were in the woods." She said, "I thought I was going crazy, but it wasn't madness. It was evolution. Their son didn't just carry DNA from two species, he bridged them. And now, he was learning how to use it." Suddenly, the alarms blared again. The outer gate was being cut through. The hunters were almost in. Callan looked at the defense panel. It wasn't strong enough. The AI confirmed it. External barriers compromised. Warning, critical failure in 120 seconds. Zero clutched the child tightly. "There's nowhere left to run," she said, voice breaking. Callan gritted his teeth. "We don't run anymore." He turned to the baby. "You hear me?" he asked, unsure if the child understood. "But if you can feel us, if you can feel this place, then we need you now." The baby didn't cry, didn't blink. He just stared straight ahead, eyes glowing brighter and brighter. Then the hum grew louder, and every light in the outpost turned white. Panels opened, cables reached down like metal vines. They didn't grab or attack. They connected to the child, to the floor beneath him, to the systems above. The air buzzed. Zira and Callan stepped back, shielding their eyes. The screen displayed a new line. Genesis Core initiated defense rewritten waiting target input. Callan spoke, his voice firm. "Target. Hostile entry team outside perimeter." The AI beeped once, then went quiet. "Outside?" A blinding pulse exploded from the outpost. No flames, no damage. Just a burst of energy like a silent wave. It knocked the hunters flat, disoriented their suits. Wiped out their sensors, they screamed, their visors flashing errors one by one. They ran, retreating into the snow, terrified, not by soldiers, but by a baby. Inside the outpost, the lights dimmed again. The baby relaxed in Zira's arms. Eyes closing slowly, peacefully, as if he had done nothing at all. Zira fell to her knees. Shaking, she looked at Callan with disbelief. What? What is he becoming? Callan sat beside her. I don't know, he said, looking down at the sleeping child. But he just saved us, and from the overhead screen, the AI spoke once more. This facility will remain in standby mode, awaiting further input. From Genesis Unit, Zira touched her son's tiny hand, and for the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt hope. Callan stood in the center of the outpost chamber. His rifle hung from his back. Untouched, he didn't need it now, because the real weapon was asleep in Zira's arms. His son, half human. Half alien, had silenced a team of elite hunters without lifting a hand. He didn't scream, didn't run, didn't cry, he simply was. And the world around him bent quietly to protect him. Zira sat nearby, watching both father and child. The baby slept peacefully. No more glowing, no more strange pulses. Just the slow, steady breath of someone safe. But safety never lasted long. The outer defense systems gave one last warning. Unauthorized cruiser detected 10 minutes until breach. Callan's face went cold. They're not giving up. He said, this time, it won't just be hunters. It'll be soldiers. Zira tightened her grip on the baby. We can't run again, she whispered. I know, Callan said, stepping to the main console. He looked at the old weapon systems, most offline, some broken. One still active, the ion spike detonator. But if he used it, the blast would kill anything within 50 meters, including him. Zira saw his eyes. She stood quickly. No, she said. I know what you're thinking, and I won't let you. Callan looked at her softly. Tay, I promised I'd protect him. Zira, you already did, she said. You brought us here, but you can't leave again. Not like before. He stepped closer, brushed a hand over his son's tiny cheek. The baby stirred, opened his glowing eyes, and reached for his father. Callan took the little hand and whispered, I was never there to hold you when you cried. I was always in the shadows. But if this is the only way to keep you safe, then... The baby spoke, not words, just a soft sound, but clear and strong. It echoed in the room like music. And every system around them responded again. The floor lit up with lines of light. The AI returned. Genesis Unit override. Activating failsafe protocol. Zira blinked. What's happening? The AI answered. Energy shield forming. Base now protected by child's neural imprint. No hostile signal may enter. Callan froze. He's shielding us. The AI confirmed. Correct? Tony, while he remains within the core chamber, Zira's heart sank, you mean? We have to leave him here. No, Callan said quickly. He's just a baby. He can't stay alone. Suddenly, the chamber ceiling opened. A lift platform rose glowing. Circular, the AI spoke again. Genesis Unit may now choose his guardian. A light scanned the room. It paused on Zira. Then stopped on Callan. Then, on both, the console blinked. Dual guardian bond accepted. Zira gasped. Callan looked confused. What does that mean? The AI answered. Child's life signs are bound to both guardians. His protection is yours to share. The platform lowered gently. The three of them stepped onto it. As it descended into the protected Cora place no enemy could reach. A place built for the future. Below, the air was warm. Soft lights danced around walls of crystal and steel. It felt like a new world, like a place not meant for war or fear, but for growing, learning, becoming. Callan held Zara's hand, and together, they looked at their son, his glowing eyes wide, curious, hopeful. The galaxy had tried to erase him before he even spoke his first word, but now he would shape it. And beside him, human father and an alien mother stood not as fugitives, but as the first guardians of a new beginning. Far above, enemy ships scanned the planet, but they found nothing. No heat signatures, no life readings. Just a quiet world, waiting, because sometimes the most powerful stand a father can take is choosing to stay, to hold the future in his arms and never let go.